Love Busters: Protecting Your Marriage from Habits That Destroy Romantic Love by Willard F. Harley, Jr. This book is read by the author. Originally published by Baker Publishing Group in English as Love Busters: Protecting Your Marriage from Habits That Destroy Romantic Love. Copyright 2008 by Willard F. Harley, Jr. All rights reserved.
Introduction. Has a friend ever asked for your advice about his or her marriage? Where do you begin? How would you help him so that his marriage could be fulfilling instead of disappointing? In describing the problem, your friend would probably tell you what his wife was doing that made him so unhappy. And then he would tell you what his wife was not doing that caused him to feel particularly unfulfilled in his marriage. But if you talk to your friend long enough, you'd probably discover that his problems go beyond what his wife is doing or is not doing. You'd probably discover what I've discovered in the majority of couples I've counseled. Your friend has fallen out of love with his wife. Whatever feeling of love he once felt for her is now gone. How would you help? When it comes to solving marital problems, sometimes it's easier to see the solution when it turns out to be somebody else's problem. In your friend's case, it might be clear to you that if his wife would stop doing the things that upset him and start doing the things that would make him feel more fulfilled, his feeling of love for her might return. So you might begin by going to his wife with his complaints and by trying to encourage her to make a few changes in her behavior. But if his wife is like most of the wives and husbands I've counseled, you wouldn't get very far describing those complaints. Assuming that she would even hear you out, after you'd uttered your last word, you'd be hearing her litany of complaints about your friend, and how he's been doing all sorts of outrageous things to upset her, and how he's failed miserably in making her feel fulfilled in the marriage. And if she were honest with you about her deepest feelings, you might also discover that she doesn't feel any more love for him than he does for her. It wouldn't take long for you to discover that each of them understood the other person's problems, but not their own. And you would also discover that they didn't understand how their mistakes contributed to the loss of love for each other. When a couple first comes to my office, I don't talk to them together. That's because they're likely to spend the entire session criticizing each other. If I would let them talk to me together, they would leave my office in worse shape than they had arrived. Instead, I talk to them one at a time to gain insight into how they affect each other, how they make each other miserable, and how they fail to make each other happy. I also try to estimate how much love they've lost for each other. During the first counseling session, I make a very important point. It's a point I want you to fully understand. Just about everything that you and your spouse do affects the feeling of love you have for each other. What you do either builds your love for each other, or it destroys that love. How spouses affect each other has a tremendous bearing on the success or failure of a marriage. If your friend's wife would simply stop doing the things that upset him and start doing the things that make him feel terrific, your friend's complaining would be over, and something else would happen too. Your friend would once again be in love. Of course, your friend would also have to make some changes. He would need to take his wife's complaints to heart and accommodate her feelings as well. Then she'd be in love with him too. But whatever it would take to restore their love would be worth doing, because it would create something that they both want very badly, a fulfilling marriage. A fulfilling marriage requires passion. Marriage is like an aircraft with exceptional performance when it flies fast. But when it flies slowly, it can't stay aloft. It stalls and crashes. When a husband and wife are in love with each other, they're happier, healthier, wiser, and more productive than ever. But when love fades, they lose everything that makes them better people. What once seemed almost effortless becomes awkward and very difficult. Instincts that work for a couple who are in love work against them when they lose that love for each other. And in most cases, the relationship eventually becomes so bad that couples try to escape each other through divorce or permanent separation. Take my word for it, because it's based on years of experience. If you want a marriage that's...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?